Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. Yesterday was Tesla earnings day and of course we will have a Tesla video today so I can give my view on the numbers. And the video here kind of indicates that Tesla could go to $600. Now that is my, I don't know if you could say prediction, but at least we'll have a look at the chart a bit later in the video and I'll show you why I think from a technical point of view that we could go to $600. Now the thing is with Tesla, and I mentioned that in a lot of my videos, that Tesla is a tough company to evaluate because are they a car manufacturer? Yes, they are, but they are also a solar panel manufacturer and they are a ton of other things. I have mentioned that in my video about if Tesla could go to $22,000 and I'll not go too much in depth with that, but we are going to touch on it today because they have some news on the self-driving capabilities of the cars and so on. But let's dive into it and if we look at the news, we can see here that the Market Watch, Tesla plays smoke and mirrors with profits again. And they are a bit skeptical, and that is fair enough. What they are saying is that they are relying on these regulatory credits, meaning that in the United States there are some environmental credits to EV manufacturers in California and a couple of other states especially, where they are getting some money. And yes, that is a thing. And you could say, is Tesla really a good company when they rely on that? But you can see kind of the same in many of the, for instance, wind turbine, solar panel manufacturers. They are also getting some sort of subsidized from different government styles. And we should remember that the people criticizing this credit system also remember that in the beginning, in the 19th century, where all of the oil companies started out with this petrochemical industry, they were not profitable at all. And they were getting subsidized for many, many years through the US government and different countries in Europe. And they are pretty much also subsidized today in different ways. So just remember that this about Tesla getting these credits, it's not all bad. And as I am going to look at in the numbers later on in the video here, they are showing some great improvements. But let's get back to that in a second. We can also see here from the market screener here that there's also Tesla sets revenue record, makes profit thanks to pollution credit sales to rivals. Yes, and that is a part of it, definitely. But let's try to dive into it. I should say right away that I do have Tesla stocks right now. I have been swing trading them a bit, and that means that I have been in it on the upturn here, and then I went over to the 4-hour time frame as I normally do with these extremely fast running companies, and I went out here around the 420 I think it was, and then I went in the other day and I'll give you a more in-depth analysis of why I think it might go to 600, but I went in the other day around here 448 I think it was, because I think it had broken some resistance. But let's get back to that later. But that is just to disclaim that I am right now an owner of some Tesla stocks. It's not a huge position, and that's also why I kept it over the earnings, because if I have a huge position and it is a bit risky and the earnings might be crucial to what direction it will take, then I often reduce a bit if it is a speculative stock like I think Tesla is right now. But let's have a look at the numbers. And of course, I will link to this Q3 update in the comment section below. Now, in the at page 3 here, we can see just the highlights, and we can see the cash. They have had a almost $6 billion increase in their cash and cash equivalents in Q3, up to $14.5 billion, meaning they have a ton of cash on their hands to spend on new factories, on developing new models, on building new projects. And that is something I really like here. Remember, this is the earnings in a year where we have had the virus, where pretty much all other car manufacturers have seen a downturn in production, in sales, and so on. There are a lot of car manufacturers that have been in deep trouble. And we can see here that Tesla, they have been making money. Operating cash flow less capex, 1.4 billion in Q3 here. And there are something about the profitability. The operating income, there is a 9.2% operating margin, and as we'll see in a second, that is almost double the numbers from earlier, which is absolutely astonishing. We can see here that record vehicle deliveries, profitability and free cash flow, build out of 3 new factories on 3 continents continues as planned. They are simply at a momentum place right now where I think Tesla is hard to look away from here. We can see the financial summary. Automotive revenues we can see here on the different quarters, and we can see quarter over quarter we can see a 47% increase here, and year over year for 42%, which is quite amazing. And an interesting thing here is which is regulatory credits. Now, the year over year, they are up 196% on the regulatory credits. And that is simply because a couple of the states, I think California is one of them, they have increased their regulatory credit program quite a lot. So, of course, that is a part of it. But it's also something that I think Tesla is not just leaning back and saying, yeah, we can live off this credit forever and ever. They're putting this money into good use, and they're really building a good company from it. But we can see that even though their automotive revenues have gone up quarter over quarter here at 47%, the regulatory credits are actually down 7%. So that means that they are slowly, but I think securely moving to a place where they can actually make money without the regulatory credits. But they are not there yet. Automotive gross profit 60%, and that is amazing, to be honest. Total revenues up 45%, crazy high numbers, 39% year over year. And the gross profit is up extremely high numbers as well. Operating expenses are, of course, also up because they are setting so many new products up. But the adjusted EBITDA up almost 50%. Yeah, I simply don't have words for it. It is strong numbers, absolutely. And this is just a summary of that. When we see the production, we can see the SX and the 3Y productions here are up quite a bit. Total production quarter over quarter up 76% and 51% year over year. So they are really starting to get some benefit from this manufacturing plants that they're building. And as we'll see in a second, they have so much in the pipeline here. They have some deliveries where they are up quite a lot. The S and X, of course, is a bit down year over year, but otherwise, very nice growth numbers here. What do we have? Yes, then we have the solar. And that is, of course, because Tesla is not just a car manufacturing company. And as we can see here, the solar production in megawatts is up with 57 megawatt in that's simply in solar panel megawatt production here, and they are up 111% last quarter and 33% year over year. And we can see the storage, meaning these huge battery packs that they are selling to, for instance, Australia, that have been helped quite a lot when they have some sort of electricity outage. Then they are using these huge battery parks to generate electricity very quickly. And we can see the storage deployed here in megawatt hours is up quarter over quarter 81% and year over year at 59%. So that is some crazy numbers, and they are up soon to deliver a gigawatt, 1 gigawatt hour per quarter here if they follow this trend line. Then they have store and service locations, they are up, and mobile service fleet. An interesting part here is the supercharging stations and supercharger connectors, also up 7% for both of them for the last quarter, and almost up by a third over the last year. That is very interesting, because one of the things that I think Tesla really can rely on in the future is their supercharging network. And the closer they are to each other, these supercharging stations or network here, the better a sales pitch they can give. If you have a supercharging stations with just a few miles apart, then we have a very good sales argument for buying a Tesla here. So amazing here. When we're looking at the manufacturing plant, we can see that, of course, the Fremont is the big plant right now, and they have the SX here. They are currently producing 90,000 of these, and the 3Y is 500,000. And in the Shanghai, they are up and running now with 250,000. But look at this. In construction, the Shanghai is coming up with the Model Y production, of course, but the Berlin, the Texas the manufacturing plants are very much on their way, and as far as I can tell, they are following the plan here. So I'm looking forward to that. Then there's, of course, the Tesla Semi and the Roadster are also on their way. So very interesting. And when they get up and running here, they can really increase their productivity quite a lot. And as the market is right now, as far as I can see, there is a huge market for it. I know that there are a lot of competitors coming up very strongly. I know that NIO is strong in China. I'm a big fan of NIO as well. And of course, since they are a Chinese based manufacturer, they have some advantages in China. And all of the large car manufacturers like GM and Volkswagen and so on, they are coming strongly with their programs as well. So I'm not saying that Tesla will be completely without competition, but they just have so much other on the plate as well. They have the solar panels, they have the electricity storage, and as you can see here, they have the autopilot and full self-driving coming up. And to call it full self-driving is maybe a bit of a stretch, but they are putting this into a lot of cars right now to collect data. And as far as I can tell, they are one of the one with the most data collected, and something you need to build artificial intelligence into a car to make it run itself and to see, should I avoid these pedestrians, or is there a guy on a bike, or how far can I drive to the car just in front of me, and so on. What you need to build this artificial intelligence is data. And right now, Tesla is one of the companies that is collecting most data on mileage on the road right now, and that is just so important. So I am looking very much forward to this, and they will have some version of this FSD software ready this year, they say. But to be honest, before we can at least have self-driving Teslas running around in larger US cities, there will be some years to go yet, but they are coming, and they're coming fast. The battery production, they're writing something about that. In my recap of the Tesla Battery Day, I said that even though many investors was a bit disappointed, I actually think it was a complete revolution. They were cutting the battery pack cost by 56% measured by per kilowatt hour here, and that is over the next 2 to 4 years, and they are on the road to do that as well. In the energy business, there's some description of this about the solar panels here, also very interesting. And then there's some Battery Day highlights, there's some recap of a lot of the things that I mentioned, the technical sides of the Battery Day here. Then, of course, there are some photos that are always nice, not extremely usable in a report like this, but we can see the Shanghai factory here. We can see the Shanghai here, and in contrary to when we, for instance, saw some pictures from production of Nikola trucks, that was just some prototypes. It was some factory rooms where we could not really see if they were producing anything. But here you can see a fully equipped car manufacturing site. Some of it might be a bit photoshopped, I'm not 100% certain. Here we have the Berlin factory coming up very nicely, the Texas Gigafactory coming up here, and then there's a Megapack project, some pictures from that. There are some key metrics of their deliverance, the cash flow, net income, and yes, as they say themselves, this is the 5th quarter in a row with positive earnings here. And yes, it is based on these credits right now. But believe me, when we are talking a few years ahead, these regulatory credits will have helped companies like Tesla and other companies as well to actually build a sustainable production where they don't need them. And then I suspect they will gradually be cut down. Now, in a few days, what is that now, 12 days or something like that, we have the election, the presidential election in the United States. And right now, as for the numbers, I believe quite strongly that Biden will win. Of course, there are a lot of unknowns, and there's also a lot of things about the mail-in ballots and so on, but I believe that Biden will win. And if I'm right in that prediction, then I think that Tesla and all in the EV space and in the alternative energy production space will get a big boost. So that is a good thing here. You can dive into the metrics here and to the details in the financials here. I'll not bore you with that, but as I said, I will put a link to it below. Now, going to the chart, what you can see here is that, let's just have it on a daily chart. As you can see, the pre-market here, Tesla is up at 436.5 right now. So they are up a few percent. I suspect they will go up further on these news. I know there are also a couple of gray areas in the earnings, but that is how it is. What you can see here is quite a well-defined trend line. And now it's not because trend lines are magical. And one of the critiques of technical analysis, of course, is that you can pretty much drive these trend line to fit with your bias. But when we see bottoms here that are aligned like this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and now maybe the 5th bottom here, it tells me something. And it tells me that, let me just draw an arrow, because as I said, a channel like this is not magical. But some of the big guys, some of the really big funds, they have some sort of target where this should go. But they also know that prices move in waves, meaning that when it is up here, they might sell a bit of their position, but they want to get to the target up here somewhere. I don't know where it is, their target, but they want to get to this target, meaning that they are adding to their position whenever the price is getting a certain number of percentages below this median line here. So the big guys are buying here or are adding to their positions whenever they are seeing the price to be cheap compared to this median line. So that is a big part of why these channels are formed. They're not magical. They're not some sort of, there might be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's just to say that when we can see a channel like this, we can often, and in an upwards trend, the bottom part of this is always the most important. Then there's the top here that can be a bit more choppy, but this is what carries the trend. It is the same in a downwards trend. Of course, then it's just the top that is the most important, where you have to find a very good alignment here, and then the bottom part here can be a bit more choppy. So when we see 5 bottoms here and we are at a low here, my take is that if you're not in Tesla right now and you want to get there, then you can get in at a very low risk right now, because if this trend line is broken, and I'm not predicting what will happen to Tesla because I don't know if this will be broken, but if it is broken, we can see it very quickly and we can quickly get out of the trade and say, all right, the criteria, the premises for this trade is now over. But we can see that, let us just put a profit loss in here, and we can see if, for instance, you have an exit down here around 380, 385, and we can see that this channel might be fulfilled. We don't know it, but if it will be fulfilled, we can see the price easily going up to the top of the first channel here. I've drawn two different tops. And that is because I had this line down here. I copied a parallel line and said it might be this top that is defining the top part of the trend, but it could also be this outlier. However, I'm not too certain about this. Let's just say, for the case of it, that it is an area up here that we are going to look at as a target if we're working with that. Then we can see, and I should say it's not 100% certain it will go up there in one stretch just like this, but let's just say that over some months we will see the price go up here. We can see a risk reward at 5.13 here, meaning that we have a target that is 5 times as large as our risk. If we set our risk, maybe you set your risk down here, then of course if the target is the same, the risk reward is a bit smaller at 2.3, but still it is very reasonable. So what I see here is that there's a lot more upside in the stock than there's downside. Now, in a trend like this, we often see smaller counter trends like this. And when these are broken and we are pretty sure we have a trend, then these are very, very good entry points. Also, I do like to see the RSI above 50 here and not tipping too much below in these retracements. But when we see a retracement like this, and it is forming a trend line, some technical analysts would do this. They would make it like a bull flag, we call it. We have the flagpole, we have the flag, and then the break up. And then we see a good run up here. The flag is not as apparent here. Here we are talking about a so-called triangle. But don't get confused about that. We see the break here, and I bought here at around these in the 40s here. And it went a bit up and down, but I was not so concerned as long as this trend line held. And it has for now. And right now it seems like we are moving up in the 436. I'm at a bit of a loss right now, but I'm suspecting that this could really move up strongly. And especially with these numbers, with the good, not just the numbers from the earnings, but their large productions, their large sales. And remember still, this is in the midst of a virus crisis. Now countries are shutting down again and so on. So there might be some pressure down there. And we have also seen some companies being hit by some outbreak of the virus among the personnel on the manufacturing plant. And then of course that can put some constraint on the overall production numbers. But in this environment, in this very tough environment, seeing the numbers, seeing the growth in Tesla makes me extremely confident in Tesla. And as I said, it's not just as a car manufacturing company, but as a company that is putting itself into a position where they are leaders in the charging stations, in the car manufacturing, in solar panels, in storage of the electricity. They're coming up with their boring company. They're coming up with satellites. They're coming up. I know this will probably be different legal entities and on the stock exchange with different tickers. But it's just to say they are producing so many patents, so much revolutionizing production thoughts right now that I simply don't see anything stopping them. Of course they will have competitors and they will not have a monopoly on the market, definitely. But I don't see anyone stopping them, and I don't see Tesla getting into serious trouble in the future. And that is one of the main criteria. Then I can see this is a company I want to own. That is the fundamentals, both the quantitative and the qualitative fundamentals. This is a company I would like to own. Then I use the technicals to see what about the others? Do they want to own it as well? And when we can see a strong trend forming, that tells me that it's not just me wanting to own stocks in the Tesla. All of the other participants in the market, they want to own it as well. So let's see where it goes. As I said, it might drop down here and then I can sell it again. And I have a very good feeling that it will move towards the 600 area. I cannot say how quickly. I cannot say if it will even get there. Sometimes I'm predicting, quote unquote, I'm saying that it has potential to go up here in a couple of months, and then it goes up in 3 days. And sometimes I say this has the potential to go up here in a couple of months, and then it turns around and goes the exact opposite way. We are talking about numbers, statistics, and potential here, and not about predictions and certainties. Absolutely not. So take care of yourself and your money out there. This is just my opinion. It's not financial advice, but I hope you can find some inspiration and some teachings in here that you can use in your own investment space. That's all for now. Remember to subscribe and like the video if you found it useful. I'll talk to you again very soon.